Number 3, tungsten filament lamp load not exceeding the ampere rating of the switch at the applied voltage if the T rated CO or ELR snap switches. So snap switches rated 20 amperes or less directly connected to aluminum conductor shall be listed and marked CO or ELR. So D, alternating current specific use snap switch rated for 347 volts. So snap switches rated 347 volts AC shall be listed and shall be used only for controlling the loads permitted by D1 and D2. So 1. Non-inductive loads. Non-inductive loads other than tungsten filament lamps not exceeding the ampere and voltage rating of the switches. 2. Inductive loads. So the inductive loads not exceeding the ampere and voltage rating of the switches where particular load characteristics or limitations are specified as condition of the listing. Those restrictions shall be observed regardless of the ampere rating of the load. The ampere rating of the switch shall not be less than 15 ampere at a voltage rating of 347 volts AC. So flash type snap switches rated 347 volts AC shall not be readily interchangeable in box mounting with switches identified in chapter 4.4.1.14a and b. E. Dimmer switches. So general use dimmer switches will be used only to control permanently installed incandescent luminaries unless listed for the control of other loads and installed accordingly. So if F. Cord and plug connected loads where a snap switch or control device is used to control cord and plug connected equipment on a general purpose branch circuit, each snap switch or control device controlling receptacle outlets or cord connectors that are supplied by permanently connected cord pendants shall be rated at not less than the rating of the maximum permitted ampere rating or setting of the overcurrent device protecting the receptacles or cords connector as provided in chapter 2.10.2.4b. Exception. So where a snap switch or control device is used to control not more than one receptacle on a branch circuit, the switch or control device shall be permitted to be rated at not less than the rating of the receptacle. So chapter 4. Part 4.4.2, so construction and specification. So chapter 4.4.2.1. So marking versus the ratings. So switches shall be marked with the current, voltage, and if horsepower rated, the maximum rating for which they are designated. So B. Off indication, where in the off position a switching device with the mark off position shall completely disconnect all ungrounded conductors to the load it controls. Chapter 4.4.2.3 Electronic lighting control switches. So electronic lighting control switches shall be listed. Electronic lighting control switches shall not introduce current on the equipment grounding conductor during normal operation. Exception. So electronic lighting control switches that introduce current on the equipment grounding conductor shall be permitted for appliances covered by chapter 4.4.1.2c. Grounding conductor shall be listed and marked for use in replacement or retrofit appliances only. Chapter 4.2.7, so knife switches rated 600 to 1000 volts. So auxiliary contacts of a renewable or quick break type or the equivalent shall be provided in all knife switches rated 600 to 1000 volts and designated for use in breaking current over 200 amperes. Chapter 4.4.2.8, so fuse switches. So a fuse switch shall not have fuses in parallel except as permitted in chapter 2.40.1.8. So chapter 4.4.2.9, so wire bending space. So the wire bending space required by chapter 4.4.1.3 shall met table 3.12.1.6b, spacings to the enclosure wall opposite the line and load terminals. So Article 4.6, so receptacles, cords, connectors, and attachment plugs or the cups. So this article covers the rating, type, and installation of receptacles, cord, connectors, and attachment plugs. So Chapter 4.6.1.2 is the definitions, child care facility, a building or structure or portion 3 thereof for educational, supervisory, or personal care services for more than 4 children or 7 years old or less. So outlet box hood, so a housing shell intended to fit over a faceplate for flash-mounted wiring devices, or an integral component of an outlet box or of a faceplate for flash-mounted wiring device. The hood does not serve to complete the electrical enclosure. It reduces the risk of water coming in contact with electrical components within the hood, such as attachment plugs, current taps, surge protective devices, direct plug-in transformer units, or wiring devices. Chapter 4.6.1.3, so receptacle rating and type. So A, receptacles. So receptacles shall be listed and marked with manufacturer's name or identification and voltage ampere rating. So B, ratings. So receptacle and cord connector shall be rated not less than 15 amperes, 125 volts, or 15 amperes, 250 volts, and shall be of a type not suitable for a use as lamp holders. C. Receptacles for aluminum conductors. So receptacles rated 20 ampere or less and designated for the direct connection of aluminum conductor shall be marked CO or ELR. So D. Isolated ground receptacle. So receptacles incorporating an isolated grounding conductor connection intended for the reduction of electrical noise, electromagnetic interference as permitted in Chapter 2.50.7.17b shall be identified by an orange triangle located on the face of the receptacle. First, isolated equipment grounding conductor required. So receptacles so identified shall be used only with equipment grounding conductor that are isolated in accordance with Chapter 2.50.7.17b. So second is the installation in non-metallic boxes. Isolated ground receptacle installed in non-metallic boxes shall be covered with a non-metallic faceplate. So exceptions for this, so where an isolated ground receptacle is installed in a non-metallic box, a metal faceplate shall be permitted if the box contains features or accessory that permits the effective grounding of the faceplate. Letter E. Controlled receptacle markings. All non-locking type 125 or 250 volts, 15 and 20 amperes receptacle that are controlled by an automatic control device or the incorporate control features that remove power from the receptacle for the purpose of energy management or building automation shall be permanently marked with the symbol shown in figure 4.6.1.3e and the word controlled. So for receptacles controlled by automatic control device, the marking shall be located on the receptacle face and visible after installation. In both cases, where a multiple receptacle device is used, so the required marking of the word controlled and symbols shall denote which contact device are controlled. Exception, the marking shall not be required for receptacles controlled by a wool switch that provides the required room lighting outlets as permitted by Chapter 2.10.3.21. So here is the symbol for the controlled. So it is figure 4.6.1.3. So F, receptacle with USB charger. The 125 or 250 volts, 15 or 20 ampere receptacle that additionally provides Class 2 power shall be listed and constructed such that the Class 2 circuitry is integral with the receptacle. So Chapter 4.6.1.4, so general installation requirements. So receptacle outlets shall be located in a branch circuits in accordance with Part 2.10.3. The general installation requirements shall be in accordance with Chapter 4.6.1.4a through F. So A, grounding type. So except as provided in Chapter 4.6.1.4d, so receptacle installed on 15 and 20 ampere branch circuits shall be of the grounding type. Grounding type receptacle shall be installed only on circuits of the voltage class and current for which they are rated, except as provided in Table 2.10.2.4b2 and Table 2.10.2.4b. So B, to be grounded, so receptacles and cord connectors that have equipment grounding conductor contacts shall have those contacts connected to an equipment grounding conductors. Exception number 1. So receptacles mounted on portable and vehicle mounted generator in accordance with Chapter 2.50.2.15. So exception number 2, replacement receptacles as permitted by Chapter 4.6.1.4d. C. Methods of grounding. The equipment grounding conductors, contacts of receptacles and cord connectors shall be grounded by the connection to the equipment. The grounding conductor of the circuit supplying the receptacle or cord connector. D. Replacements. The replacement of receptacles shall comply with Chapter 4.6.1.4d1 through d6. As applicable, ground fault circuit interrupter type receptacles shall be installed in a readily accessible location. So number 1, grounding type receptacles. Where grounding means exists in the receptacle enclosures or an equipment grounding conductor is installed in accordance with Chapter 2.50.7.1c, grounding type receptacles shall be used and shall be connected to the equipment grounding conductor in accordance with Chapter 4.6.1.4c or 2.50.7.1c. Number 2, the non-grounding type receptacles, where attachment to an equipment grounding conductor does not exist in the receptacle enclosures. The installation shall comply with D2A, D2B, or D2C. A non-grounding type receptacles shall be permitted to be replaced with another non-grounding type receptacles. So B, a non-grounding type receptacles shall be permitted to be replaced with a ground fault circuit interrupter type of receptacles. These receptacles or their cover plates shall be marked no equipment ground. An equipment grounding conductor shall not be connected from the ground fault circuit interrupter type receptacle to any outlet supplied from the ground fault circuit interrupter receptacle. Letter C. A non-grounding type receptacle shall be permitted to be replaced with the grounding type receptacles were supplied through a ground fault circuit interrupter. Where grounding type receptacles are supplied to the ground fault circuit interrupter, grounding type receptacles on their cover plates shall be marked GFCI protected and no equipment ground. Visible after installation, an equipment grounding conductor shall not be connected between grounding type receptacles. Number 3, ground fault circuit interrupters or GFCI. So ground fault circuit interrupter protected receptacles should be provided where replacements are made and at receptacle outlets that are required to be so protected elsewhere in this code. So exception for this, so where replacement of the receptacle type is impracticable, such as where the outlet box size will not permit the installation of the GFCI receptacle. So the receptacle shall be permitted to be replaced with a new receptacle of the existing type, where GFCI protection is provided and the receptacle is marked GFCI protected and no equipment ground, in accordance with Chapter 4.6.1.4 D2A, B, or C as applicable.